Hi Sachin,
Hey Dinkar.
long time.
Yeah, I think we took quite a long break now, but yeah, we are
Yeah,
back.
yeah. So Sachin, I mean, EEBO Metrics as a topic is becoming our focus. We started with let's see where it goes. We went in a lot of directions, and I think I have a feeling that we'll still go in a lot of directions, but a lot of it will start connecting back to EEBO Metrics, and it kind of in that whole spectrum of engineering effectiveness and business outcomes. And I think we'll have an update. I think the next podcast should be dedicated to the book. So I think since this and the next one, we'll have our book in our hands, and maybe we can hold it like this, like a placard with our names on it. One of the things I did want to talk today was, as we have been talking about evometrics with a lot of engineering leadership and business leaderships, one of the things that keeps coming up is that, hey, this is our engineering flow,
Yeah.
and can you figure out where other places do we need interventions, right? If the correlation is saying that something needs to be looked at, how do I know what are those hotspots or areas of inefficiencies? And value stream mapping is a very interesting methodology. We have both seen success there. I wanted to kind of pick your brains a bit. Maybe you could share some anecdotes of your experience with value stream mapping as a tool. And one of the reasons I do want to call out is wanted to discuss this even more important is that I don't see value stream mapping being discussed too much, or somewhere I have seen that value stream mapping, service design, it's kind of considered into big massive, we'll fix the whole world, we'll do a man. I think the power of it and how it is applicable in so many scenarios is kind of getting lost. So I thought maybe today we could discuss value stream mapping. So Sachin, take it over. What's your experience? How have you benefited from it?
Yeah, well, definitely we'll talk about that. But there is one uh, a related update which we would actually share in this podcast is our podcast, which we did on EEBO Metrics at ThoughtWorks, was the top performing podcast for the quarter one of 2024, which was amazing. Uh, and it holds a very high level of significance for me because 2024 was, in fact, the second portion of 2023, and this 2024 completely is so much AI dominated that everybody's talking about generative AI, everybody's discussing about it, and there is just a flood of content on internet from every company. And through that noise, I was extremely amazed that Igbo podcast stood out. And there are like a couple of things which I learned from it, and my hypothesis is still to be proved. Uh, but this indicates anytime whether you are adopting new tools like generative AI to drive efficiency or increase productivity, all engineering leaders are thinking about metrics and how to do this thing the right way. And if this is taking so much mind share of people, I completely believe we should talk about the pitfalls which people are feeling, and we have been vocal about it over this podcast. And I guess we should continue to do that and then bring our expertise into this. So kudos to all of us and then all the listeners who have been listening to it. So this is an amazing achievement, and I'm glad
Yeah.
that it is helping people.
I'll link to that. And when we were recording it, when we recorded it, and really a big shout out to Scott and Prem.
Yeah.
They really asked us uh, prodding and incisive questions. That kind of, when I was recording it, I was little thinking that do people still care? I was kind of little worried in the sense that this whole AI, everyone is focusing on it. It's not just that people are just following the hype, but there's so much to learn, so much to discover, so much to unpack, figure out how. So it the mind space it's occupying has some good reasons for it. I was
Exactly.
worried that are we on the wrong time going and talking about metrics, going back to basics, the first principles? Will people have time to focus on this? And when I saw the results, which actually you shared, I was really happy in the sense that while people are thinking of future new emerging techs, and how we can benefit from it, people are not losing sight of basics, that we need to have our basics, focus on engineering excellence. We need to do things properly, whatever it may be, and we
Yeah.
need to connect it to a business outcome. There has to be a business value coming out of it. So I also was very happy, like you. I mean, other than little bit of ego boost, or just the happiness that wow, the podcast
Mhm.
got featured. Once that euphoria was over, I was very happy that the content has resonated with so many people, and that's why it's so up there. So thanks for calling it out, and
Yeah.
making it a topic here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now going back to value stream mapping. Um, so in my experience, whenever you are thinking about um, any process, forget about software delivery. Software delivery is our business, right? Um, but any process, you can apply value stream mapping to that. Whether it is a business process where you are taking an insurance claim and then making a payout, or taking a decision on that insurance claim, or you are approving a loan, or you are actually writing software. Any business process, such as software delivery as well, is supposed to drive some value.
Mhm.
You are giving input and efforts on one side, and then you are delivering value on the other side. So it is generally seen as a stream, and this is coming from the manufacturing industry, lean principles, all of that. So in very simple terms, what we are supposed to do is look at the flow of value through different steps which you are doing, and then for each step you list down your knowledge about it. Who are the actors in it, what activities happen in that, typically what are the friction points of it. You sort of kind of doing an audit of everything, and there are tons of tools available. Value stream is not a new concept to the world. And when you do all of this, essentially you are left with a very detailed journey of how input is converted into value, whether it is people input, whether it is idea coming from business, whether it is activities like writing software, testing it, deploying it to production, and then customers getting that app delivered, updated, or accessing through browser, all of that. This is your value delivery stream, and you are
Mhm.
doing an account of all of that. Now when you do a very clear cut account of every step.
Sachin, I want to call out one thing.
Yeah.
Value is such a term which holds so many different meanings. I do want to call out here is that there is no specific definition of value in this. It's your context, your definition, what you feel is valuable. Don't don't go searching for business blogs and all that. What is definition of value? Keep it very simple. Value in your context, to the audience, to the customers, to the users, whosoever is benefit from that flow. Keep it simple. um, Take whatever works for your definition and move on. So continue,
Yeah,
just want to yeah.
you're right. Yet there is easier way to even like figure out in my context, everybody's context. So it's worth talking. I think you brought a like kind of underlying issue, so we will address that. So if any company is building software, let's say, and they are uh, let's say you and I are building an app which actually goes to customers, and they install it on their mobile phones. The value is our mobile app, essentially. Now, if I'm the CEO of the company, for me, it matters how much revenue I'm making out of it, or
Yeah.
whatever is the value indicators for me, right? Is adoption. If it is a free app, but it is actually driven through adoption, that's one thing. if I'm a business and I intend to drive traffic through usage of this app. Example is there are companion apps which many businesses do. So their goal is not the app; it is just that app is assisting them into generating even more revenue. So the value is coming in the business in terms of dollars and cents, but the value is delivered to the customers so that they are more loyal, more attached, more engaged with the company.
Right.
Now, the challenge which I have found of value stream mapping is people do not understand value when they are not having a direct customer to give it to.
Yeah.
Example is, let's say my unit is responsible for the cloud operations.
Yeah.
Now, what is my value? And that's where the struggle starts. And we will come to that. So whenever you are thinking about value, it is really important that you understand what do you deliver to your buyer, like whoever is funding you, right?
Yeah.
And if you this is a good point to call out that we have built murals and assets which you can use to do these type of EEBO exercise. And one
Yeah.
of the first set of activities in that is about there are 4 boxes which we ask you to fill. And the first box is what is the expectation of the organization from you, and that expectation, do you have any measurement associated with it which you
Right.
can put there? And the reason why we do that, the second box, let me go through all the boxes first. The first is organization, second is customer. And here in this context, customer means somebody who pays. If I'm a
Right.
cloud operations team, somebody is funding me, and that funding can be coming through the budget of CIO. It could be coming from one small startup, so there is no different budget per se, but I have some responsibility to my company itself. And the third one is user and customer could be same if they are paying, but sometimes user is different in an organization or enterprise context. They buy the software but somebody else uses it. Example, in my company they use Google Apps, so I am user of Gmail for a
Yeah.
Gmail workspace, but my company pays for it. And the last one is the partners. If you are building a platform which other people integrate with, they are dependent on you, then
Right.
what are the expectation of the partners? Because they use your services to provide services to their customers, their users. And you need to also while you can indicate them as your users, that's fine, you can also treat that way, but partners are sometimes in enterprise context slightly different than the
Right.
users or customers. So that's why we do the distinction differently. And when you do that, I have seen people, when they walk into the room, they are the lions of that room. They feel that we have figured it out, we know what we are doing here, right? And the moment we start doing this exercise, I realize that they haven't given a thought about what the success means.
Yeah.
And even if they know what success means, it is extremely subjective. It is very um, I would say verbose. It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not objective. What they talk about is, "Hmm, oh, my expectation is that customer should be happy." Now, how do you know that the customer
Yeah.
is happy? Is there any indicator which NPS score? Do you do NPS score? No, we don't right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or how do you know that the reliability should be high? Now, how do
Yeah.
you know your software is reliable? So that is what the value is. So first of all, it is important you understand the value and what you are delivering to and who are your stakeholders in your game. Once
Right.
you do that, essentially that value stream is the one, like whatever work you're doing, your team is doing, it's supposed to be delivering this value.
Yeah.
And if this value is coming out of your stream, now this is your North Star and guiding principle of whatever activities I'm doing should be contributing to that North Star. Now,
One thing, Sachin, just staying a bit with that mural and the importance of this North Star, right? So when I was building up that mural, right? So I, as usual, like a product manager, it was an iterative approach. And initially, I when the first few sessions that I ran, it used to be in Google Sheet. It's little more cruder and simpler to do. I felt that was this focus on what do the organization expects, what does the customer expect, what does the user expect? Was it like trivial in the sense that everyone will come, yes, I know I can pre-fill it, and why you're even bringing it up in a workshop, right? But as sessions started happening, what I started realizing was that almost every workshop ended up with, let me go back and first even get this. And the audience has been a variety of folks, tech leads, even product managers sometimes, right? I need to go and talk, especially in a large enterprises where people have this, maybe siloed is the term, or maybe they just want to focus on something because they have limited bandwidth and they focus on what they're responsible for. People do not have this whole vision. So and then people go into these exercises of North Star and all that, you cannot try to reach a summit unless you have covered the base camp, right? And base camp usually is where a lot of things are coming together. So I'll share this mural link, hope, and with request to the listeners to have a look at it and do this exercise. So yeah, go ahead once this has been figured out.
Yeah. So whenever you are thinking about value stream, I find that if you do a mechanical activity of just creating an audit of activities you do
Mm,
day in, day out in different steps, then you wouldn't be able to apply the rules to determine whether this is a value addition step or
yeah,
a friction. And that's why calibrating yourself to knowing what the value you are supposed to deliver, what is the value which this team delivers, this group delivers, is extremely crucial. And I was equally surprised is I have also done these things with variety of people,
yeah,
and even business stakeholders. They sometimes don't understand this, and with all due respect to them, it is not that they are not smart enough or they are not capable or they haven't thought about it. They were never cornered to do this type of things. And why? The problem lies into the funding process. Is if
yeah,
you when they are creating this business case to fund some initiatives, their buyers, their supporters, or their business counterparts are not creating very objective measurements,
exactly.
because sometimes keeping it loose and keeping it vague works in their favor, both business as well as engineering.
Yeah,
So the problem lies there. Then it percolates down, and
the
then it
problem is exasperated by so many things that go unsaid. Assume
exactly.
that everyone knows, everyone understands.
Yep.
That is the first moment when you have started sowing seeds of a bigger disaster 6, 7, 9 months down the
Right.
road.
And Dinkar, this is not a problem of leadership. Okay, only leadership.
Yeah,
I wanted to do my goal planning for a year, and then what I realized is that I have no idea what I want to achieve. It's so difficult when you put a pen and paper, and the frameworks there are dime a dozen. You can actually
yeah.
you can just Google about goal setting frameworks for, yeah, annual,
Or ask on Chat GPT. Yeah,
or ask on ChatGPT. You will find a very nice, simple framework. The trouble is, when you start putting content into that framework, then you realize that you haven't been objective enough about what you want to achieve. And it
yeah.
becomes an introspection exercise about, oh, I wanted to do this one. This is what I'm struggling with. Oh, I want to go ahead and fix these issues. And these are the skills which I want to develop. Um,
In fact, I think this is where the Amazon practice, which I read only, I have not worked this, so I don't know in reality what's happening. But the Amazon practice that you start a meeting by writing a 6 pager or a 4 pager in which you actually write and people read it. So the act of writing it out, the you cannot gloss over, you cannot or you cannot just when you have to write, you have to write very clearly, and that's the value. And our friend Sumit Moge, who's written this book on async, he also calls out on the importance of writing down things, the force it brings to you to organize your thoughts and also complete them.
Yeah.
Because when you're probably talking or just thinking in your mind, you may cover 80% and say that 20% may not come to you at that time. But when you're writing it down to be shared with others, your coverage of the whole topic would be much wider.
Yeah. Just a break, Dinkar. Is
Yeah,
it stuttering for you?
it's slowing down now. Your video is slowing down, and there's a little bit of lag coming. Can you see me clearly though?
I can see you, but it is still choppy, very choppy.
I am also choppy, or you are choppy?
Both.
So, Sachin, see, it is also recording locally. So, as long as your local recording is okay, I think we should be okay.
Okay, let's continue.
Yeah,
I'll continue that.
yeah.
So, Dinkar, that's really valuable that you are putting down your thoughts and you know exactly what is happening there. Now, if you have that clarity and perspective of what is the value you are delivering, and you have objective way of measuring that, then you should complete this like step by step audit of your entire value checkpoints, and then uh, like start writing what's going wrong, what are the areas of improvements there. And probably we should also share an asset with the community that they can also use it in their practice. While there are also value stream mapping templates available on the internet, it is not something which is very proprietary or unique method. There are plenty tools available. When you are working with this value stream mapping, I think there are a couple of gotchas, and then we can wrap this session. One of the things which I already spoke about is not knowing what the value is. The
Mhm.
second is, whenever we are doing this, we should not be bound by our constraints. I have seen this more than often happening, is that people become prisoner of their environment. Is um, they will start saying stuff like, "I know this wouldn't work here because X, Y,
Mm.
and Z." They don't even see that as a friction, but they start taking that as a taken for granted, that this is the environment which I stay in. And
But
uh,
Sachin, I want to ask. Let's spend some time on this because I have seen both scenarios, right? And the fear I have is that when we tell someone, okay, don't be bound by your constraints, then people kind of go too wide also, and
yeah.
this, there's so. And I have heard people say about let's stay here because it helps us come up with very tangible and realistic scenarios, hotspots, the loss of value, the drop in value. So so somewhere between going wild and being too constrained, you're suggesting that we need to be there. Can you suggest few rule of thumbs or some experience how to kind of not stray too much but also not be too much bound? How does one make that fine balance?
My point was not from the breadth perspective, Dinkar. My point was whether there is a scope for improvement in this particular step or not. Example is, let's say that I'm talking about whenever a new idea is added to the backlog. As a business analyst, I have
Mhm.
certain steps which I need to do. Is doing analysis, market research, developing the epic, charting out the functionality, identifying evidence from my analytics if this is going to work or not, build a case for that, then go to the business, get it validated, get it approved, because it will be an effort to build it. and then put it into the backlog of engineering team so that they can start developing it. If these are 6 7 steps which I have identified, and each of the step has certain activities which I do, and they have associated timeline or like estimate typically which I spend on it. um, let's say that I don't have research capability. I have a research division, and that research division takes 2 weeks to come back to me, or they
Mhm.
have their own priority backlog or something like that. Rather than thinking that, I should not assume that is the only way it will work in my company.
Okay, makes
I should,
sense.
I should see why Sachin cannot have access to certain tools that Sachin can himself do this market research. It doesn't need to be so detailed that a 15-page report is done. We are just deciding at this point whether there is some credible case for us to build this feature or not.
Right.
Now, this is something which people sometimes take for granted. In my company, we need to go to this market research team. And that's what I was talking about. And this is something which comes from that learned helplessness, right? Is people spend a lot of energy in learning the inefficiencies of the organization, and they have invested so much into those helplessness that they don't see this as a problem. In fact, they start observing those things so religiously that they don't question it at all.
It,
So
it's part of fitting in. You
yes,
start
it's part of
adopting not
fitting.
only the good things but also the inefficiencies.
Yeah. So that's why whenever you are joining a new company, it is super important that in your first few weeks, you start documenting what you see in a new company, which doesn't make sense to you. And you start building a backlog of what you need to do to fix it. And if you do that, uh, then you can be very objective about it in your future. So that is the second pitfall which I see, is people not questioning it enough. And the third thing which I feel is problem, people do not measure it objectively. So that if tomorrow they started improving on certain value stream mapping activities, example is, as I mentioned, from idea to ready for development, it takes, let's say, 45 days for me to get that feature and epic ready. And if I did not put that time number there, that objectivity there, essentially what I am doing is, I am, if I started working on improvement of those steps, I wouldn't know how much I achieved it. And
Hmm.
if there were some sub steps which I did not put any number behind it, then I wouldn't know which one I should pick up the first. Ideally, I should pick the things which are the most expensive in time perspective, as well as the ones which are adding lesser value. So the question now becomes of prioritization based on two
Yeah.
factors, which is the cost. In this case it could be time, in other case it could be real cost, dollars being
Yeah.
paid. And the second is time. And now you are saying, in my value stream mapping, if this cost and the value which I derive out of it, um, and the time I spend on it is now dictating me whether I should do this, I should reduce this, I should do this even more deliberately. All those decisions are like linked to all of these objectivity. So these are the top three things which I see people missing all the time. To recap them, number one is that not knowing what the value is. Number two, um, not questioning enough that you know that whether this is adding value or not. And three, not putting objective measurements on it, which kind of limits your ability to prioritize and then track whether you are improving something or not.
Right. That, that's great, and I think this was a good discussion. Would love to hear what others' experience has been with value stream mapping. And sorry, folks, for a little lag between the previous podcast and this one. As you know, work happens, and I also went through a little bit of change. Uh, change the organization with whom I'm working, but we'll try to be a little more disciplined and go back to the aim of sharing something at least once in 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
thanks, Sachin,
Thank
and
you, Dinkar.
take care. And thanks everyone for listening. Bye bye, folks.
Bye.
So I will hit end recording.